Welcome back to the Gallagher Shots YouTube channel. My name is Matthew, and after what's just happened, a clever intro pretty much deceives me. An absolutely crazy result away at Tottenham. Newcastle, of course, drawn 1-1. Besty, I'm joined by you, mate. How are you feeling right now?
I don't know whether to say relieved or kind of happy or just it's a weird one because it was a shocking performance, but it's when you kind of equalise the last kick of the game, you can't be too upset, can you?
You can't be, mate. I mean, there's always that euphoria of scoring a last-minute equaliser, whether you played shite or not. But I mean, like you've said, we were absolutely atrocious, and I'm sure we'll hint on that. There's lots to talk about. But I mean, if we start at the beginning, I mean, when we lined up, there was a lot of questions asked about what formation we were going to play. I mean, I previewed the game. I thought we were going to play with a 4-3-3 because of that midfield was just non-existent against Brighton. But as soon as we started playing, it looked like we were playing with a back five, or we were playing with a back five. Do you reckon that was the right way to go against Spurs?
I'm not too sure. I'm assuming what he's done is he's kind of got results with that formation last season at White Hart Lane. That was at Tottenham Stadium.
Yes.
A few places like, so I think that's what he's done. He's thought, right, I'll play that way. I'll kind of have that three at the back, the wing backs, which is what I wonder, because I saw the team and I thought, well, he hasn't got a left back there, and obviously Hayden's not usually centre half, and then you've got Matt Ritchie, so you think, well, Ritchie playing left back, but yeah, having the three at the back and Hayden there. I mean, it was rotten, but you've got to see it worked.
It worked to a certain degree, but I mean, we're obviously all in a group together. We talk about the games while they're going on, and Decker made the point of, we've sat behind the ball, and it felt like we had a full 25-man squad behind the ball, yet we were still affording them shots on target after shot on target from wide positions, from outside the box. So it just felt straight away that it wasn't working. And like you said, Hayden was there at centre half. I know he's played there a couple of times in so far in his career, but that just for me didn't seem to work. And then obviously Ritchie, again, he's been covered at left back in the past, but he was part to play in the goal that we conceded. Would you agree?
Oh, definitely, yeah. I mean, the way he lets the ball come across his body, when you look at it, it's Lucas Moura who scores, isn't it? And Ritchie kind of looks at him, gets in front of him, and then I don't know if he just tries to dummy it, or something.
I think so, yeah. Yeah, I think he's trying to get the ball run across him, and I don't think he does have a look before the ball comes in as well, so you must know he's close to him. However, I've seen him do that a number of times when he drops back to defend. He lets the ball run across him, tries to get the ball up the touchline or whatever, but I think he's just maybe muscle memory and just thought, I can get this away. But like Jamie Carragher was saying, I think he should have been swinging a foot at that straight away. But I mean, just to rewind a little bit as well, I mean, obviously we spent a lot of the time camped in our own half. Wilson, again, was totally isolated. We couldn't get any sort of breaks going forward. It was good to see Miguel Almiron back in the team. However, as much as he was running around like we always expect him to do, I think his passing was a bit off today. Do you reckon? I
absolutely agree with that. Yeah, it wasn't his best game today, Miggy. I mean, for all it was his first Premier League start of the season as well. There was a few passes went out of play, and he's missed his target, and he even miscontrolled the ball out a couple of times. It just wasn't his day at all today.
Yeah, I mean, also with the goal, I mean, we weren't afforded too many chances to break forward, but there was that point where Joe Linton had got in behind, and Shelvey's got the ball. And for me, I think for this player who Shelvey, we've seen him play well in the past, we know his range of passing, but I think the last two games his passing's been pretty atrocious, and he could have found him quite easily, and he hasn't. He's hit his man, and then that break's formulated, and they've went and scored. So I mean, again, Shelvey, I don't think covered himself in too much glory today.
No, again, I agree completely. Yeah, the ball to Joe Linton. It's a kind of ball I used to see him play like after an hour, the 36th game of the season, where he's looking tired and leggy. And I mean, 3 games in the season, and he's hitting the man like that instead of going round him over him. Like it's what Shelvey does. I mean, Shelvey's one of these players we've said pretty much his whole time at Newcastle. Kind of, he'll have one good game in 6, one brilliant game in 6, and the rest of them it just doesn't really work. And today was one of those days for him. It didn't. I mean, you go through the team, and I mean, I think obviously you've got to say Darlow played well.
Yeah,
he did. Doll did very, very little wrong, I thought. But apart from him, no one really looked great.
Well, I was going to come on to that. I mean, I know we could probably do that now. I mean, you said to say that our man of the match was Karl Darlow, obviously. I mean, I think you can't not say that he has. He said, I don't know how many it was. I think the last time I counted, he had like 9 shots on target. 5 of those obviously were pretty good saves as well. But I think someone who not covered themselves in glory, but got about a 6 out of 10 was Joe Linton on that left hand side. I mean, for what he is, and he's been afforded a lot of time. Obviously, it's 40 million price tag, and we've talked about this loads. But I feel that his touch was really good today, and any sort of move that was going to happen started with him. He won a few free kicks, so I will give Joelinton a little bit of credit today. Do you reckon?
Definitely, yeah, he did. I mean, he won a free kick. Well, he obviously won the free kick of the penalty came from eventually.
Yeah.
There was a couple of times he picked the ball up deep and brought it forward. And I don't mind Joelinton. It's a weird one because it's almost like he's had his second chance this season. Kind of, he's not going to be played as like the focal point of the attack. He's going to be playing off to one side or behind the front man a little bit. So you kind of get to see him in a position that certainly apologists for him, of which I'm one. They've said he's going to be better off. He's more that kind of player. So we'll see what he does when he plays a bit deeper. But today, I mean, he was awful last weekend. I thought he was from an outfield perspective, our best player today.
Yeah, he was. I mean, like I said, his touch seemed good. He actually got a run at players for a change in that wide position, which you don't get to see him do too much. Because when he plays centre forward, he's constantly got his back to goal. That's why Callum Wilson's been so impressive for us. Not so impressive, but it's been a breath of fresh air to see a striker who's trying to get in behind. Granted, he didn't get to do that much today. I mean, before we move on to the big talking point of the game, I mean, we tried to change things up in the second half, which we needed to do. I think we tried to push up a little bit more. But once we started really chasing the game, we've obviously brought Carroll on and sort of reverted to that sort of 4-4-2, Almiron behind Wilson, but Hendrick on the right. And how do you feel like that's happened? How's that working, Hendrick on the right for you?
It's kind of, before the West Ham game, I would never have said, he'll be a right-sided player. After all, he played quite a bit there for Burnley last season, apparently.
Yeah.
Today, there was a lot of balls kind of into nobody, and I don't think it's really working, if I'm honest. I'd rather see him inside. I think he's pretty industrious. He's not bad on the ball, but he's someone I'd rather see come inside. And then we've got options. I mean, if you want to call them wingers, we've got like St. Maximin when he's fit. Almiron could do a job there, but he's not great there. Fraser, Murphy, who came on towards the end of the day. So I don't think Hendrick on the wing is something that is intended to be a long-term thing. I certainly hope it's not, because I don't think it really is working that well. But I don't think you see the best of him there either.
Yeah. Well, I was going to touch on Murphy before we moved on to us scoring. He obviously came on. We were screaming for him to come on, especially with Hendrick being there. We were chasing the game. We needed to do something. He came on and obviously had a bright game against Morecambe. But I feel like Murphy's one of these players where I really wanted to go well for him, because obviously he's a Newcastle supporter and he's been out on loan and he does look like he can be bright, but it feels like he needs to grow into the game, and he had two chances to slip players in down the channel and just sort of daddled on the ball a bit too much. I mean, do you think he's got a chance of getting into the team at all? Or I mean, I'd like to see it happen.
That's something I've said since he joined. I remember it seemed to take him weeks and weeks to grow into the team, but when he did, I thought he played fairly well. And today, those times when he doesn't, his decision making isn't great, or doesn't seem to be. Kind of, he plays the ball at the wrong time or doesn't play it at all. Which happened a couple of times, you see on the right. There was one just when he came on, when he picked it up, I think he took a ball off someone in the middle of the park, took it forward 5-6 yards, lost it, got it back, took it forward a bit again, and I'd like to see him release the ball at a better time. I mean, I suppose that's the kind of thing. I mean, you'd like to think if the more he trains with the team, the more he plays, the more that should come into his game. But he's not that young a kid anymore, and that's something like you'd like to think would have been kind of trained into him at Wednesday, or even at Norwich when he started out. Like, his decision making isn't always great, I think. Yeah,
I mean, it's make or break for him, definitely, I'd say, this season. Hopefully he can show a bit more and get into the league side. But obviously in review, obviously we set up with that 5-4-1 or whatever you want to call it. And again, I mean, I was talking to my dad after the game, and he said like he's sick of hearing the word nullify when it comes to, either fans or especially pundits talk about Newcastle United, whether it's against a top 6 club like Spurs or someone who's a bit more our level. They always say, they're set up to nullify and frustrate the opposition. And it's something that I just want to see change so much, because we went from that 4-4-2, which you might be able to call attacking, I guess, and it worked against West Ham and definitely didn't work against Brighton. But we've went from, apples to oranges, and it doesn't seem like he wants to try anything in the middle ground for me. I would have liked to see a 4-3-3 employed today, just pack that midfield and try and break with wingers, instead of constantly sitting up with a straight 5. Because with a 5, you expect wing backs to bomb on, but it didn't really today. Would you agree with that? Because I mean, when we were defending, it just seemed like a line of 5 and a line of 4 for most of the game.
I think Manquillo got forward more than Richie did, but neither of them could be accused of being particularly adventurous today. Like, or both. I mean, which I suppose when you're playing against Spurs, who are really good going forward, like you're going to be pinned back a bit. But there was nothing early in the season. I think even before the season started, there was talk of kind of how Fraser and Lewis might kind of dovetail and become like what Jose Enrique and Jonas were, whatever, how many years ago that was. And obviously neither of them have really been fit yet, so they haven't got the chance to do that yet. But today was the opposite of it, where it was that flat five at the back and just try and play through it, which they did alarmingly easily, I thought. But
yeah, they did very, very easily.
Especially that first half.
Yeah, but fingers crossed, like you said, hopefully when they both get fit, we can see a partnership develop between them two players, or between Lewis and another winger, because I do like Jamal Lewis. Again, he's still bedding in a bit of a horror show last weekend, but who didn't have one? But let's just move on to the big talking point, I guess, mate. We've been battered the full game. As the time goes on, you're realising how the hell aren't they 4, 5, 6 up? And the ball comes at the box first and foremost, and there was a shout for a penalty, and it wasn't given. But Andy Carroll heading onto the back of Eric Dyer, hit like the top just above his bicep. I was thinking, yeah, that's not a penalty. We get another chance, it goes in. Again, I find now with this new rule, any game you watch, there's going to be screams for handballs just so they get checked. That's something we're going to have to deal with all season. But the second one gets checked, and all of a sudden they're checking for an offside. And I remember just saying to my girlfriend, they're checking for an offside because they're going to give a penalty. I mean, what were you thinking when that got given?
It was it's one of those ones where I've been watching football for 30 years now, maybe. I mean, I'm 38-year-old now. So
don't look a day over 25 though, mate. Don't look a day over 25.
That ring light's doing wonders. Like in each of the seasons before this one, I wouldn't say no penalty at all there. It's just because I think it is a penalty going by what the laws are now.
Yep.
But I don't agree with the laws. I think it's there's nothing Eric Dyer can do there. I mean, he's jumped. It's very similar to the one that Palace got given against him yesterday, the Joel Ward thing.
He's not even looking at it. He's not even looking at the ball.
There's absolutely nothing Eric Dyer can do there to stop that from happening. He's I think he's had a little bit of a cheeky nudge in the back of Hayden as well, which has kind of thrown him off balance a little bit. Yeah. And the ball happens to hit. It's extraordinarily lucky. Like, I'll take it.
Yeah.
That point could keep up at the end of the season, so I'll take it. But it's something that, as I say, up until this season, all the years I've watched football, I would have said, you can't give that as a penalty.
No. And of course, I mean, there was a couple with Jamal Lascelles as well, where, I mean, I know he had his hand close to his body, but there was one where there was a bit of a curve from Bergwijn, I think, and he still had it close to his body, but because of the angle it came in, could you argue it was away from his body? I totally get why Spurs fans would be massively aggrieved. There's a million reasons why they'd be aggrieved, but for it to happen that way. But I mean, we get the penalty. I'm sat there thinking, who the hell's going to take it? And there was only one person for me, and that was Callum Wilson, and he's done well there to show a bit of composure. The keepers went the right way as well, but thankfully the powers outdone him.
Powers beaten me. I think he got a hand to it as well, the Roos, didn't he? I think
he did, yeah.
He got a touch on it. I would like to say Andy Carroll tried and head it in from the penalty spot, but I'm desperate for him to get a goal, but.
Yeah, me too. I mean, perhaps do like a Henri Perez thing and someone flicks it up and he heads it in, something like that. Yeah, I'm desperate to see Carroll score as well. But I mean, he did put himself about. Like, that's all we say about him, really. He puts himself about. He caused some trouble. He actually got a few, apologies out to Sky Sports as well after he came, because I think you could just hear him dropping F-bombs left, right, and centre. Pure Sunday League, ref any chance and all that stuff. So we got more apologies out to Sky Sports than we did shots on target. But at the end of the day, mate, we will take a point. I mean, we've got win, lose, and a draw after the first 3 games. We're still in the League Cup, of course, Newport on Wednesday. So how would you judge the start of this season so far?
If you look at the fixtures, like if way back, whenever it was the season started a few weeks ago, if you look at the fixtures and said, well, we'll be unbeaten away from home, lose at home to Brighton, but being the last 16, I think we are now, of the League Cup, you'd probably have taken it. Like, so it's been horrible to watch, and it feels as if, kind of, to me at least, it feels as if calamity is just around the corner. But then it felt like that all last season as well, and the kind of by hook or by crook got away with it. So it's results-wise, it's been a good start of the season. Performance-wise, it's been far from it, but I suppose it's the results that matter at the minute, isn't it? So
yeah, the results are that matter, and you can only look at the results at the end of the day. But I've said on numerous occasions that I feel like we really are chancing it to a certain degree. It felt like that, like you said last season. Steve Bruce really just uses hope as his biggest tactic, just choosing players for courses and seeing what happens. Really, I don't think that he's got the real tactical nous to really to challenge managers in the top half of the league, but we'll only have to wait and see. Obviously, I mentioned that hopefully we'd start with an attacking formation soon when Fraser's fit, seeing Fraser, Miggy and Alan St. Maximin playing. Do you think that's a bit too attacking for us, or is that something that you reckon our players can manage?
I'd love to see it. Before the season started, I know in the WhatsApp group it kind of said that could be the starting line will have 5 pretty attacking players in it.
Yeah.
And for all being attritional and kind of almost Catenaccio's works for the last 3 seasons since I came back up, at some point you've got to change, you've got to progress, you've got to start taking games to teams, and the players that are there, I think, have the quality to do it. In Almiron, St. Maximin, Fraser, Wilson, even Joe Linton. We'll see what he can
exactly.
From maybe it's not from the front line, but from elsewhere. You'd like to think that if Bruce is serious about kind of saying, right, we're going to try and take the next step, however modest a step that could be, like they've got to start looking to get those players in and attacking. And I think they're capable. I really like having players in the midfield. So if you play like Hendrick and Shelby or Hendrick and Hayden, play Almiron ahead of them, then you've got the kind of option. You've got the bodies in the middle of the park there, but you're not going to get overrun as much. And you can kind of be a bit more expansive. You can get the ball out wide to Fraser, St. Maximin, Murphy if Bruce fancies him. I think we've got the players there that could make it work.
Yeah, definitely. I just hope we can see the better of them, mate, because like I said earlier, I'm sick of seeing the setup just to frustrate opposition rather than take the game into our own hands. But at the end of the day, a sort of happy Sunday in the end, a point away to Spurs. We'll obviously take it. Again, 4 points out of 3. So again, I would have took that, albeit not a horror show against Brighton last Sunday. But let's forget about that. Let's concentrate on the future. Hopefully we can kick on for me with Burnley. I think it's Burnley next week. I think we've got Burnley next. I'm not too sure. I might be totally wrong. I might be getting chastised now, but whatever. I'm going to go with Burnley. But anyway, that's that from us too. In the meantime, please subscribe to Gallagher Shots YouTube channel, like the video, and obviously comment below with your thoughts on today's game.